Imagine waking up one day to the realization that life, every moment of it, every triumph, every heartbreak is ultimately without inherent meaning. What would you do? Would you crumble under the weight of this absurd truth? Or would you find a way to thrive, to create meaning where none exists? Today, we're diving into one of the most profound and challenging questions humanity has ever faced. How do we confront the absurdity of life? And to guide us on this journey, we'll be exploring the brilliant but contrasting philosophies of Fyodor Dostoevsky and Albert Caraco. Dostoevsky, the literary titan who wrestled with questions of faith, suffering, and redemption. Caraco, the philosopher of stark nihilism who looked into the void and refused to flinch. Their ideas couldn't be more different, yet both offer powerful insights into how to navigate the chaos of existence. If you've ever felt lost, alienated, or wondered about the purpose of it all, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see life and your place in it in a completely new way. But before we dive in, let's take a moment to connect. If you find value in the deep conversations we're about to explore, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay updated with more thought-provoking content. Don't forget to share this video with someone who loves a good philosophical deep dive. And if you're feeling generous, consider supporting us with a super thanks donation. Your contributions help keep these discussions alive and thriving. Now, let's journey into the minds of two of the most fascinating thinkers in history and see what they can teach us about living authentically in an absurd world. Fyodor Dostoevsky's exploration of life's absurdity begins with his deeply personal experiences and extends into the universal. His journey through existential angst was shaped by the turbulence of 19th-century Russia and his own life's trials, creating a lens through which he questioned the human condition and the meaning of existence. To understand his grappling with the absurd, it's vital to first appreciate the man himself and the world he inhabited. Dostoevsky lived through a period of extraordinary upheaval in Russian society. The mid-19th century was marked by the erosion of feudal structures, the rise of intellectual movements, and growing political unrest. As a young man, Dostoevsky was drawn to progressive circles that sought to challenge the autocratic rule of the Tsar. However, his involvement with the radical Petrashevsky circle led to his arrest and a harrowing near-execution. On the day of his scheduled execution, Dostoevsky stood before the firing squad, blindfolded and awaiting death, only to be granted a last-minute reprieve. This life-altering moment left an indelible mark on his psyche, confronting him with the immediacy of mortality and the profound fragility of human life. After his commuted sentence, Dostoevsky spent years in a Siberian labor camp, enduring brutal conditions and mingling with hardened criminals. It was here that he began to perceive suffering as a central element of human existence. This suffering wasn't merely physical. It was a spiritual crucible that forged Dostoevsky's belief in redemption through hardship. His return from exile marked the beginning of his literary exploration into the existential questions that would dominate his works. One of the most striking aspects of Dostoevsky's writing is his ability to delve into the psychological complexities of his characters, laying bare their inner turmoil. In Notes from Underground, the unnamed narrator embodies alienation and bitterness, railing against the deterministic philosophies of his time. The underground man's contempt for rationalism reflects Dostoevsky's skepticism toward the notion that life could be reduced to a series of logical equations. The protagonist's irrationality and self-destructive tendencies illustrate the absurdity of human existence in a world where traditional structures of meaning are crumbling. Dostoevsky's engagement with the absurd reaches its zenith in The Brothers Karamazov, particularly through the character of Ivan Karamazov. Ivan's philosophical rebellion against God stems from his inability to reconcile the existence of an all-powerful, benevolent deity with the reality of human suffering. His famous parable of the Grand Inquisitor questions the value of free will in a world where freedom often leads to misery. Ivan's confrontation with the absurd lies in his rejection of divine justice, choosing instead to grapple with a moral universe devoid of inherent meaning. This existential crisis is mirrored in Crime and Punishment, where Raskolnikov, the protagonist, embodies the tension between nihilism and morality. His decision to murder a pawnbroker under the guise of serving a greater good unravels as he descends into guilt and madness. Dostoevsky uses Raskolnikov's plight to explore the devastating consequences of attempting to impose one's own logic onto an inherently illogical world. The absurdity of Raskolnikov's rationalization underscores Dostoevsky's belief in the limitations of human reason when faced with the complexities of existence. Dostoevsky's personal struggles were deeply intertwined with the themes of his work. His gambling addiction, for example, serves as a microcosm of his broader philosophical inquiry. Gambling, with its unpredictable outcomes and reliance on chance, mirrors the chaotic and often absurd nature of life itself. Dostoevsky's repeated losses at the gaming tables were both a source of financial ruin and a metaphor for the existential risks inherent in human freedom. His willingness to stake everything on the turn of a card or the spin of a roulette reflects a broader existential gamble, the search for meaning in a world that offers no guarantees. The loss of close family members further deepened Dostoevsky's understanding of suffering as a universal human condition. The death of his first wife and later his son brought him face to face with the fragility of life and the inevitability of loss. These personal tragedies reinforced his belief that suffering could be transformative, acting as a pathway to spiritual enlightenment. In this, Dostoevsky diverges from pure nihilism, offering a vision of redemption that is both deeply religious and profoundly human. Dostoevsky's philosophical exploration of the absurd resonates with modern audiences because it speaks to universal human experiences. The questions he posed about freedom, suffering, morality, and faith remain relevant in an era of increasing existential uncertainty. His characters, flawed and often tormented, mirror the struggles faced by individuals in a world where traditional sources of meaning, such as religion and community, are increasingly questioned. For example, consider the modern phenomenon of existential dread, a term frequently invoked to describe the anxiety stemming from a perceived lack of purpose in contemporary life. This sentiment is echoed in the struggles of Dostoevsky's characters, who confront their own insignificance in a vast, indifferent universe. In this sense, Dostoevsky can be seen as a precursor to existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who also grappled with the absurdity of existence. A particularly striking modern parallel can be found in the world of film. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight explores themes of chaos and morality that closely align with Dostoevsky's vision of the absurd. The Joker, a character who thrives on unpredictability and rejects traditional notions of order, embodies the nihilistic tendencies Dostoevsky sought to understand. Similarly, the moral dilemmas faced by Batman reflect the tension between free will and determinism, echoing the struggles of characters like Raskolnikov and Ivan Karamazov. Dostoevsky's exploration of the absurd was not an abstract exercise but a deeply personal and profoundly human endeavor. His willingness to confront the darkest aspects of existence, to wrestle with questions of meaning and morality, and to find hope in the face of despair has made his work enduringly relevant. In a world that often feels as chaotic and uncertain as Dostoevsky's own, his insights offer both a mirror and a guide for those navigating the complexities of the human condition. His legacy reminds us that while life may be absurd, it is also rich with the potential for transformation and redemption. Dostoevsky's exploration of the absurd delves into some of the most profound and unsettling questions of human existence. His works dissect the paradoxes of alienation, freedom, morality, and faith in a world that often seems devoid of inherent meaning. Through characters like the underground man Raskolnikov and Ivan Karamazov, Dostoevsky crafts a vision of the absurd that is both timeless and deeply relevant to the modern human condition. In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky introduces one of the earliest and most vivid portrayals of alienation in literature. The underground man is a character consumed by bitterness and isolation, a misanthrope who has retreated from society into a self-imposed exile. His alienation is not merely physical but profoundly psychological, stemming from his acute awareness of the absurdity of life. He loathes the world around him but is equally repulsed by himself, oscillating between self-pity and self-loathing. This duality captures the essence of Dostoevsky's vision of the absurd, the unbearable tension of being both a part of and apart from the world. The underground man's predicament highlights a critical paradox of freedom. He resents the deterministic philosophies of his time, particularly the idea that human behavior can be reduced to mathematical or scientific principles. Yet, his own freedom, the ability to choose in a meaningless world, becomes a burden. This paradox is encapsulated in his infamous assertion that humanity will sometimes act against its own interests simply to assert its freedom. Freedom, for the underground man, is not a path to fulfillment but a source of existential torment, as it forces him to confront the emptiness of existence without the comfort of preordained purpose. This theme of freedom as both a blessing and a curse is further explored in Crime and Punishment, where Dostoevsky delves into the moral dilemmas of a world where traditional values are eroding. Raskolnikov, the novel's protagonist, embodies the tension between nihilism and morality, convinced that extraordinary individuals have the right to transgress moral boundaries for a greater good. Raskolnikov murders a pawnbroker in the belief that her death will ultimately benefit society. However, the act plunges him into a spiral of guilt and madness, unraveling his rationalizations and exposing the futility of his ideology. Raskolnikov's struggle with guilt is a powerful exploration of the moral consequences of nihilism. Dostoevsky does not merely critique Raskolnikov's actions, but examines the psychological toll of living in a world where moral absolutes have been called into question. The novel suggests that even in the absence of a divine moral order, the human conscience remains a formidable force. Raskolnikov's eventual confession and acceptance of punishment represent a return to moral and spiritual clarity, a rejection of the nihilistic worldview that initially guided him. Dostoevsky's exploration of morality in a godless world reaches its zenith in the brothers Karamazov. Ivan Karamazov, one of the central characters, embodies the philosophical rebellion against God and the concept of divine justice. Ivan's famous assertion, "If God does not exist, everything is permitted," captures the existential dilemma of a world without inherent meaning or moral authority. His rebellion is not rooted in atheism per se, but in his inability to reconcile the existence of a benevolent God with the pervasive suffering and injustice in the world. Ivan's philosophical anguish is most vividly expressed in The Grand Inquisitor, a parable within the novel that critiques the Church's role in suppressing human freedom for the sake of order and security. The Inquisitor argues that humanity cannot handle the burden of freedom and is better off relinquishing it to a higher authority. This bleak view of human nature contrasts sharply with the faith-driven hope of Ivan's brother Alyosha, who represents a counterpoint to Ivan's existential despair. Alyosha's belief in love and redemption serves as a defiant assertion of meaning in the face of absurdity, embodying Dostoevsky's conviction that faith, even in a godless world, is a powerful act of rebellion. Faith, for Dostoevsky, is not a passive acceptance of dogma but an active, often agonizing struggle. This is evident in his personal life, where he wrestled with doubts about religion and the existence of God. Yet, he ultimately viewed faith as a necessary counterbalance to the despair of nihilism. In this sense, faith becomes a way of confronting and transcending the absurd, a means of imbuing life with meaning even when objective purpose seems unattainable. The themes Dostoevsky explored resonate deeply with modern existential struggles. In today's world, alienation has taken on new dimensions, amplified by the rise of social media. Platforms designed to connect people often have the opposite effect, fostering feelings of isolation and inadequacy. Like the underground man, many individuals find themselves trapped in a cycle of self-comparison and dissatisfaction, yearning for connection while simultaneously rejecting it. The paradox of freedom is also evident in the overwhelming choices presented by modern life. The freedom to craft one's identity, career, and relationships in an increasingly individualistic society can be both liberating and paralyzing, as it places the burden of meaning squarely on the individual. Nihilistic attitudes, particularly among younger generations, further underscore the relevance of Dostoevsky's vision of the absurd. Faced with existential threats like climate change, political instability, and economic uncertainty, many young people are grappling with a profound sense of disillusionment. This nihilism often manifests as apathy or cynicism, echoing the despair of characters like Raskolnikov and Ivan Karamazov. However, Dostoevsky's works also offer a glimmer of hope, suggesting that meaning can be found through acts of faith, love, and moral courage. For example, the cultural phenomenon surrounding films like Fight Club and The Matrix reflects a widespread fascination with themes of existential rebellion and the search for authenticity in a world perceived as artificial or meaningless. These narratives, much like Dostoevsky's novels, grapple with the tension between individual freedom and societal constraints, highlighting the human desire to assert meaning in the face of absurdity. Dostoevsky's exploration of the absurd is ultimately a profound meditation on the complexities of human existence. His characters, with their struggles and contradictions, serve as mirrors for our own existential dilemmas. In a world where traditional sources of meaning are increasingly questioned, Dostoevsky's vision offers both a diagnosis of our spiritual malaise and a potential path forward. Through his works, we are reminded that the confrontation with absurdity, while deeply challenging, is also an opportunity for growth, transformation, and the affirmation of life. Albert Caraco stands as a stark and sobering figure in the philosophical landscape, offering a vision of life that is unflinchingly nihilistic. While Dostoevsky grappled with faith and the possibility of redemption in the face of absurdity, Caraco leaned fully into the void, embracing the bleakness of existence with a clarity that is both chilling and liberating. Born in 1919 in Istanbul to Sephardic Jewish parents, Caraco's life was shaped by the catastrophic upheavals of the 20th century, particularly World War II and the Holocaust. His philosophical works, such as Breve Posterite de Cathedrals, reflect his deep disillusionment with human progress and the inevitability of death. Through his writings, Caraco challenges us to confront life's absurdity without the comforting illusions of religion, morality, or hope. Caraco's philosophy centers on the inevitability of death and the futility of human achievements. Unlike thinkers who seek meaning in humanity's ability to create, innovate, or leave a legacy, Caraco viewed civilization itself as a fragile construct destined for collapse. He believed that humanity's relentless pursuit of progress was little more than a facade, masking the inescapable reality of our mortality. For Caraco, all roads lead to the same end, death. This inevitability renders much of human endeavor meaningless, reducing our greatest accomplishments to dust in the grand scheme of time. One of Caraco's most striking ideas is his view of civilization as a temporary and fragile construct. He saw the cycles of history, rising empires, golden ages, and eventual declines as proof that humanity is incapable of sustaining its achievements. The cathedrals of Europe, once symbols of spiritual devotion and human ingenuity, become, in Caraco's view, relics of a bygone era. In his work Breve Posterite de Cathedrals, he mourns the loss of genuine spiritual purpose while simultaneously dismissing any attempt to revive it as futile. Caraco's perspective is that civilizations are like sandcastles, built with care and effort, only to be inevitably washed away by the tides of time. This relentless focus on death and decline might seem unbearably bleak, but for Caraco, it is a necessary confrontation. By acknowledging the impermanence of life and the inevitability of death, he argued, we free ourselves from the illusions that bind us. Caraco's nihilism is not simply despair. It is a form of liberation. He believed that false hope, whether rooted in religion, humanism, or the promise of progress, only serves to delay the inevitable reckoning with life's meaninglessness. For Caraco, accepting the absurdity of existence is not a cause for despair, but an opportunity to live authentically, unburdened by illusions. This acceptance of absurdity as liberation resonates powerfully in the modern world. The existential challenges we face today, climate change, environmental collapse, and technological disruption, mirror the themes Caraco explored. The specter of climate change, for example, underscores humanity's fragility and the precariousness of our civilizations. Despite technological advancements and efforts to combat global warming, the threat of ecological disaster looms large, forcing us to confront the possibility that our species may be incapable of averting catastrophe. Caraco's philosophy offers a lens through which to view these challenges, urging us to strip away the comforting narratives of eternal progress and face the realities of our situation. Similarly, the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence and automation has sparked widespread existential dread. As machines grow increasingly capable, many people fear a future in which human labor, and perhaps even human creativity, becomes obsolete. This anxiety reflects a deeper unease about what it means to be human in a world that appears to be moving beyond us. Caraco's assertion that human achievements are ultimately transient resonates here, challenging us to re-evaluate our relationship with progress and technology, rather than clinging to the illusion that technological advancement will solve all our problems. Caraco's perspective encourages us to confront the limits of our control and the impermanence of our creations. On a personal level, Caraco's philosophy offers a framework for confronting fears about death and societal decline. By acknowledging the inevitability of death, individuals can begin to dismantle the anxieties that often dominate their lives. For example, consider the cultural obsession with legacy, the idea that we must leave something behind to ensure our lives had meaning. Caraco would argue that this obsession is misguided, as no legacy can endure indefinitely. Instead of striving for immortality through achievements or recognition, Caraco's perspective invites us to focus on the present moment, embracing the fleeting nature of life as an integral part of its beauty. This approach can also be applied to the fear of societal collapse. In an era defined by political polarization, economic instability, and environmental crises, it is easy to become overwhelmed by a sense of impending doom. Caraco's work suggests that rather than resisting this fear, we should confront it head-on. By accepting the possibility of decline, we can free ourselves from the paralyzing grip of anxiety and find ways to live meaningfully within the chaos. This might mean focusing on small, personal acts of kindness and creativity, rather than striving for grand, world-changing accomplishments. An accessible example of Caraco's ideas in contemporary culture can be found in the popularity of films like Interstellar or Arrival, which grapple with themes of humanity's impermanence and our place in the cosmos. These stories, while often framed with more optimism than Caraco might endorse, nevertheless reflect a growing awareness of life's fragility. Similarly, the rise of minimalist and slow-living movements aligns with Caraco's call to strip away unnecessary illusions and focus on what truly matters. By embracing simplicity and mindfulness, these movements echo his belief in authenticity as a response to absurdity. Caraco's stark vision of life's absurdity may not offer the comforting answers many seek, but it provides a powerful framework for understanding the human condition. His insistence on confronting mortality and impermanence challenges us to rethink our assumptions about progress, legacy, and meaning. In a world increasingly defined by existential uncertainty, Caraco's philosophy serves as both a mirror and a guide, urging us to face the void with clarity and courage. By doing so, we can find liberation in acceptance, authenticity in the absence of illusions, and perhaps even a quiet joy in the fleeting moments of life. Albert Camus stands as one of the most prominent philosophers of the 20th century, particularly for his contributions to existentialism and his development of the concept of the absurd. Camus' philosophy builds on the ideas of thinkers like Dostoevsky, whose works he deeply admired, while diverging from figures like Albert Caraco in significant ways. Central to Camus' thought is the notion of the absurd, which he explores with clarity and depth in works like The Myth of Sisyphus. His modern perspective on life's absurdity offers a framework that emphasizes rebellion and the creation of personal meaning, standing in contrast to both Dostoevsky's reliance on faith and Caraco's stark nihilism. The absurd, as Camus defines it, arises from the tension between humanity's innate desire for meaning and the indifferent, chaotic universe that offers none. It is not merely the realization that life lacks inherent purpose, but the experience of confronting that reality. For Camus, the absurd is not a philosophy of despair, but a starting point for existential exploration. He posits that while humans long for clarity, unity, and order, the world is governed by randomness and impermanence. This incongruity creates what he calls the absurd condition, a state in which human consciousness becomes painfully aware of the disparity between our aspirations and the nature of existence. This concept is illustrated most famously in The Myth of Sisyphus. where Camus uses the Greek mythological figure Sisyphus as a metaphor for the human experience. Sisyphus is condemned by the gods to roll a boulder up a hill, only to have it roll back down each time he reaches the summit. For eternity, Sisyphus must repeat this futile task, his efforts rendered meaningless by the inevitability of failure. Camus, however, interprets this myth in a strikingly optimistic light. He imagines Sisyphus, aware of the absurdity of his predicament, embracing his fate with defiance. One must imagine Sisyphus happy, Camus declares, because in his acceptance of the absurd and his rebellion against despair, Sisyphus asserts his freedom. This freedom comes not from escaping the absurd, but from confronting it head-on and refusing to succumb to nihilism. In contrast to Dostoevsky and Caraco, Camus offers a distinctly modern response to life's absurdity. Dostoevsky, as seen in works like The Brothers Karamazov, grappled with the absurd through the lens of faith and redemption. His characters often wrestle with the existence of God and the possibility of salvation in a world rife with suffering and moral ambiguity. Ivan Karamazov's rejection of God due to the problem of evil stands in stark opposition to Alyosha's faith-driven hope, reflecting Dostoevsky's belief that meaning can ultimately be found in faith. While Dostoevsky acknowledges the absurd, he frames it as a stepping stone towards spiritual transcendence. Caraco, on the other hand, embraces nihilism as a logical response to the absurd. For him, life's meaninglessness is not something to be rebelled against but accepted as an undeniable truth. He argues that humanity's achievements, aspirations, and values are ultimately futile in the face of death and the inevitable collapse of civilization. This perspective strips life of illusions but offers little solace or guidance for navigating the human condition. While Caraco's philosophy shares Camus' rejection of traditional sources of meaning, it diverges in its acceptance of despair as an unavoidable aspect of existence. Camus' perspective occupies a middle ground between these two extremes. Like Caraco, he rejects the comforting illusions of religion and traditional morality. But unlike Caraco, he refuses to capitulate to despair. Camus' rebellion against the absurd is an act of defiance that asserts the value of human life and the potential for personal meaning. He challenges individuals to confront the absurd without retreating into nihilism or false hope, advocating instead for the creation of meaning through lived experience. This approach resonates strongly in the modern world, where many individuals grapple with existential questions in the absence of traditional structures of meaning. For example, the increasing secularization of society has led to a decline in religious belief, leaving many people searching for alternative ways to navigate life's uncertainties. Camus' philosophy offers a compelling framework for this search, emphasizing personal agency and authenticity in a world that often feels overwhelming and chaotic. His call to live without appeal, to accept life as it is rather than seeking solace in external justifications, has profound relevance. Camus' ideas also find expression in contemporary culture, particularly in literature, film, and art that explore themes of existential rebellion and the absurd. Consider the enduring popularity of movies like The Truman Show, which portrays a man's journey to escape an artificial world and assert his individuality. Truman's decision to confront the unknown rather than remain in a controlled but meaningless environment mirrors Camus' notion of rebellion against the absurd. Similarly, in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, the characters choose to embrace the pain and imperfection of their memories rather than erase them, reflecting Camus' belief in the value of authentic experience. The modern relevance of Camus' philosophy extends to pressing global issues as well. Climate change, for instance, presents humanity with an existential challenge that underscores the fragility of life and the indifference of the natural world. In the face of this crisis, Camus' call to embrace the absurd and act with integrity and purpose, despite the apparent futility of individual efforts, offers a meaningful way forward, rather than succumbing to despair or apathy. His philosophy encourages action rooted in personal conviction and responsibility. At a more personal level, Camus' ideas can serve as a guide for navigating the challenges of daily life. In a world increasingly defined by uncertainty and change, his emphasis on finding meaning through personal relationships, creative expression, and the pursuit of justice remains as relevant as ever. For example, individuals struggling with feelings of alienation or purposelessness might find solace in Camus' assertion that life's value lies not in its inherent meaning, but in the opportunities it provides for growth, connection, and self-discovery. Camus' perspective on the absurd also challenges us to re-evaluate our relationship with failure. In a culture that often equates success with happiness and fulfillment, the inevitability of failure can be a source of deep anxiety. Camus, however, reframes failure as an integral part of the human experience, one that enriches rather than diminishes our lives. By embracing the absurd and rejecting the notion that life must conform to specific expectations, individuals can find freedom in pursuing their passions without fear of judgment or the need for external validation. Ultimately, Camus' modern perspective on the absurd offers a powerful antidote to the existential challenges of contemporary life. His philosophy invites us to confront life's meaninglessness with courage and creativity, to rebel against despair, and to embrace the beauty and complexity of existence on our own terms. In a world that often seems indifferent to our desires and aspirations, Camus' call to live fully and authentically resonates as a timeless and deeply human response to the absurd condition. The concept of the absurd has found rich expression in literature and art, serving as both a reflection and critique of the human condition. Themes of chaos, meaninglessness, and existential questioning have shaped some of the most influential works of the modern era, resonating deeply with audiences as they confront the universal struggle for meaning in an indifferent universe. From Kafka's bleak, bureaucratic nightmares to the surrealist canvases of Salvador Dali, the absurd has been explored in ways that challenge, unsettle, and even entertain. In literature, the absurd often manifests through narratives that strip away the illusions of order and logic. Franz Kafka's The Trial is a quintessential example. The story follows Joseph K., a man arrested and prosecuted by an enigmatic and faceless legal system for a crime that is never explained. Kafka's narrative captures the overwhelming absurdity of life under oppressive bureaucracies, where individuals are ensnared in systems that operate without reason or transparency. The frustration and despair Joseph K. experiences mirror the human condition in an absurd world, a place where we seek answers but are met with silence. This existential crisis, paired with Kafka's nightmarish yet mundane style, amplifies the sense of futility that defines the absurd. Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot pushes the absurd to its theatrical limits. The play centers on two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, who wait endlessly for someone named Godot, who never arrives. The circular dialogue, repetitive actions, and lack of resolution exemplify the futility of searching for meaning in an unresponsive universe. Beckett's work is a meditation on time, existence, and the absurdity of human effort. Despite its bleak themes, the play's humor and simplicity make it accessible, drawing audiences into the absurdity with a mix of laughter and discomfort. The stark stage design, often consisting of little more than a tree, reinforces the emptiness and vastness of the world the characters inhabit. The influence of Dostoevsky and Caraco on modern existential literature is profound. Dostoevsky's exploration of moral ambiguity, freedom, and suffering paved the way for a literary tradition that grapples with existential despair. Characters like Ivan Karamazov and the brothers Karamazov and Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment confront the absurd through their struggles with faith, guilt, and freedom, offering readers a deep psychological and philosophical lens on the human condition. Caraco's nihilistic acceptance of life's futility adds a sharper edge to this tradition. While less widely known, his works resonate in themes of decline and mortality, inspiring modern narratives that embrace stark realism. The absurd also finds powerful expression in visual art, particularly in the surrealist movement. Artists like Salvador Dali embraced chaos and meaninglessness, using dreamlike imagery to challenge perceptions of reality. Dali's The Persistence of Memory is a striking depiction of the passage of time as a fluid, almost meaningless construct. The melting clocks draped over barren landscapes suggest a world unmoored from rationality, where time and reality dissolve into surreal absurdity. Surrealist art, in general, thrives on the irrational, blending the subconscious with the conscious to create works that feel both unsettling and oddly familiar. This approach aligns closely with the philosophy of the absurd, as it compels viewers to question their assumptions about the nature of existence. In cinema, the absurd has been explored through narratives that delve into existential questions. The Truman Show, for instance, portrays the life of Truman Burbank, a man who discovers that his entire life has been a fabricated reality television show. The film explores themes of free will, authenticity, and the search for meaning in a world where external forces dictate one's existence. Truman's journey to escape the artificial world mirrors the absurd hero's rebellion against the constraints of an indifferent universe. Similarly, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind examines the value of pain and memory in shaping identity. By choosing to keep their flawed and painful memories, the characters reject the notion of an idealized, painless existence, embracing instead the messy, imperfect reality of human life. Both films resonate with audiences because they reflect universal questions about purpose, control, and the authenticity of experience. Humor and irony play a crucial role in addressing life's absurdity, offering a way to cope with the weight of existential questions. Dark humor, in particular, thrives on the juxtaposition of tragedy and comedy, finding laughter in the bleakest corners of existence. Stand-up comedians often use humor to tackle existential despair, turning deeply personal struggles into moments of shared catharsis. For example, George Carlin's incisive routines on the absurdity of societal norms and human behavior highlight the contradictions and irrationality of modern life. Similarly, Bo Burnham's Inside, a comedic yet deeply introspective performance created during the COVID-19 pandemic, explores themes of isolation, purpose, and the overwhelming pressure to find meaning in an increasingly disconnected world. Satirical works like Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five also demonstrate how humor can illuminate the absurd. Vonnegut's blend of science fiction, dark comedy, and anti-war critique highlights the futility of human conflict and the randomness of life. The protagonist, Billy Pilgrim, becomes unstuck in time, experiencing moments of his life out of sequence, underscoring the chaotic and unpredictable nature of existence. Vonnegut's humor doesn't diminish the gravity of his themes. Instead, it provides a lens through which readers can engage with the absurd without being overwhelmed by despair. The absurd in literature and art continues to resonate because it speaks to fundamental aspects of the human condition. Whether through Kafka's bureaucratic nightmares, Dali's surreal landscapes, or the dark humor of modern comedians, these works challenge audiences to confront the unsettling truths of existence. They offer not only a reflection of life's chaos, but also a means of navigating it, encouraging us to find meaning, or at least laughter in the absurd. Through these creative expressions, the absurd becomes not just a source of despair, but a catalyst for introspection, connection, and even joy. Embracing the absurd begins with the realization that life, stripped of inherent meaning, is not a problem to be solved, but a condition to be accepted. This acceptance is liberating because it frees individuals from the perpetual struggle to impose order on a chaotic universe. The absurd, as defined by thinkers like Camus, arises from the tension between humanity's desire for meaning and the indifference of the world. While this realization may initially provoke despair, it also holds the potential for profound freedom. By rejecting the need for ultimate answers, individuals can instead focus on living authentically and creatively, finding meaning in the act of existence itself. Accepting the absurd requires a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing the lack of inherent meaning as a flaw, it can be seen as an opportunity to shape one's own life. The absence of predefined purpose means that individuals are free to create their own values and define their own paths. This is not a passive resignation, but an active engagement with life. When we stop searching for external validation or cosmic significance, we become liberated to explore our passions, relationships, and creative endeavors. This freedom, while daunting, is also empowering, as it places the responsibility for meaning squarely in our own hands. One way to navigate the absurd is by focusing on personal values. In a world without inherent meaning, it becomes essential to create meaning through the things we care about. pursuing passions, setting personal goals, and nurturing relationships become acts of defiance against the absurd. For example, an artist may find purpose in creating works that express their vision of the world, even if those works will not endure forever. Similarly, a parent may find meaning in raising their child, knowing that the joy and love they experience in the moment are what matter, not the permanence of their legacy. By focusing on what brings fulfillment and joy, individuals can construct lives that feel meaningful, even in the face of existential uncertainty. Artistic expression is another powerful way to engage with the absurd. Creativity allows individuals to process and confront the chaos of existence in ways that are both personal and universal. Artists like Vincent van Gogh, who famously struggled with his own existential crises, channeled their emotions into works that continue to resonate with audiences. Van Gogh's paintings, filled with vibrant colors and emotive brushstrokes, reflect a deep engagement with the beauty and pain of life. In the same way, modern forms of artistic expression, such as music, film, or digital media, offer outlets for individuals to explore their experiences and connect with others who share similar feelings. For instance, a filmmaker like Hayao Miyazaki uses whimsical yet profoundly human stories to delve into themes of loss, resilience, and the transient nature of life, inviting viewers to find beauty in impermanence. Building authentic relationships is equally crucial in embracing the absurd. Human connection provides a sense of grounding in a world that often feels chaotic and indifferent. Relationships that transcend superficiality and focus on mutual understanding, trust, and support can offer profound meaning. When two individuals recognize the absurdity of existence and choose to navigate it together, they create a shared space of purpose and connection. This is evident in friendships, romantic partnerships, and familial bonds, where the simple acts of listening, caring, and being present carry immense significance. Lessons from Dostoevsky and Caraco provide valuable insights into how to confront life's absurdity. Dostoevsky, with his faith-driven hope, offers a vision of resilience through belief in something greater than oneself. Characters like Alyosha Karamazov from the brothers Karamazov embody the idea that faith, even in the face of suffering and uncertainty, can provide a foundation for meaning. Alyosha's unwavering compassion and commitment to love serve as a reminder that even in a chaotic world, small acts of kindness and understanding can create ripples of meaning. Caraco, on the other hand, represents the stark clarity that comes from accepting life's futility. His nihilistic perspective challenges individuals to strip away illusions and confront reality head-on. While his worldview may appear bleak, it encourages introspection and honesty. Caraco's philosophy suggests that by rejecting false hopes, we can live more authentically, free from the constraints of societal expectations or unachievable ideals. Together, Dostoevsky and Caraco represent two sides of the same coin, one grounded in faith and redemption, the other in acceptance and clarity. Both approaches offer pathways to resilience and self-awareness. In modern contexts, the lessons of these thinkers resonate in unique ways. Consider the prevalence of existential themes in contemporary media. Films like The Pursuit of Happiness depict individuals finding meaning through perseverance and personal achievement, while shows like BoJack Horseman explore the emptiness of success and the struggle for authenticity. These narratives reflect the ongoing human desire to make sense of life's absurdity and the diverse strategies people use to confront it. On a broader scale, societal challenges such as climate change and technological disruption highlight the importance of embracing the absurd. In the face of existential threats, the ability to find purpose through individual and collective actions becomes vital. For example, environmental activists who dedicate their lives to combating climate change often do so with the understanding that their efforts may not guarantee success. Their commitment reflects a rebellion against despair, a willingness to act meaningfully despite uncertainty. The act of embracing absurdity is not limited to grand gestures or dramatic changes. It can be found in everyday moments of presence and appreciation. A person might find joy in cooking a meal, taking a walk, or engaging in conversation with a friend. These simple acts, while seemingly mundane, hold immense significance when viewed through the lens of the absurd. They are reminders that meaning is not something to be discovered, but something to be created, moment by moment. The freedom and creativity that come from accepting the absurd extend beyond the individual, shaping communities and cultures. When groups of people come together to share experiences, celebrate life's beauty, and confront its challenges, they create spaces where meaning can flourish. Events like music festivals, art exhibitions, or even casual gatherings offer opportunities for collective engagement with the human condition. These moments of connection remind us that while life may lack inherent purpose, it is filled with potential for joy, creativity, and solidarity. Ultimately, embracing the absurd is an invitation to live authentically and purposefully. It encourages us to let go of the need for absolute answers and instead focus on the richness of experience, whether through personal values, artistic expression, or meaningful relationships. The act of creating meaning is a profound form of defiance against life's indifference. The absurd may never be resolved, but it can be embraced as a source of freedom, growth, and connection. In this way, life's lack of inherent meaning becomes not a limitation but a boundless opportunity to define our existence on our own terms. Dostoevsky and Caraco offer two profoundly different approaches to grappling with life's absurdity. Yet both philosophies provide valuable insights for navigating the existential challenges of the modern world. Dostoevsky's works highlight the human yearning for meaning and the transformative power of faith. His characters, often deeply flawed and burdened by moral dilemmas, reflect the universal struggle to find purpose in a chaotic and uncertain world. Faith, for Dostoevsky, serves as a beacon of hope and a source of redemption, a defiant assertion of meaning even in the face of suffering and despair. In stark contrast, Caraco embraces the nihilistic clarity that arises from accepting life's futility. He rejects the comforting illusions of faith and progress, viewing humanity's pursuits as fleeting and ultimately insignificant in the grand scheme of existence. While his perspective may appear bleak, it offers a sobering reminder of life's impermanence and the importance of confronting reality without false hopes. Caraco's philosophy challenges us to strip away pretense and live authentically, even if that authenticity means embracing life's inherent meaninglessness. Both perspectives resonate in today's existential climate, where individuals face mounting uncertainties and an increasing sense of disconnection. The rapid pace of technological change, the looming threat of climate change, and the erosion of traditional structures of meaning have left many grappling with profound questions about purpose and existence. Dostoevsky and Caraco provide complementary frameworks for addressing these challenges, one rooted in the hope of faith and redemption, the other in the clarity of nihilistic acceptance. These philosophies also encourage introspection and dialogue about how we confront life's absurdity. Some may find solace in Dostoevsky's vision of resilience through belief, while others may resonate with Caraco's insistence on confronting the void directly. The question then becomes deeply personal. How do you navigate the tension between the desire for meaning and the reality of life's impermanence? Are you drawn to Dostoevsky's search for hope, or do you find clarity in Caraco's stark realism? By reflecting on these questions, we can begin to shape our own responses to the absurd and find paths that align with our values and experiences. This dialogue is essential, not only for understanding ourselves, but also for fostering connections with others who share similar struggles. Engaging with these ideas through conversation, whether in the comments of a video or in personal discussions, creates a space for shared exploration. By exchanging perspectives, we can deepen our understanding of what it means to live authentically and purposefully in an absurd world. The philosophies of Dostoevsky and Caraco also serve as sources of inspiration for the future. They remind us that while life may lack inherent meaning, it is filled with opportunities to create meaning through our actions, relationships, and creative endeavors. Embracing the absurd does not mean surrendering to despair, but rather finding the courage to live fully and authentically. In accepting the chaos and uncertainty of existence, we open ourselves to the beauty and potential that life offers. This perspective is a call to action, an invitation to approach life with intentionality and curiosity, whether through small acts of kindness, personal growth, or the pursuit of passions. We can shape our lives in ways that reflect our unique visions of meaning. life's absurdity becomes not a barrier but a canvas, inviting us to create, connect, and thrive. In the end, the choice to engage with life's absurdity is deeply empowering. It affirms our agency in a world that often feels indifferent to our desires and aspirations. By confronting the void with courage and creativity, we assert our humanity and find ways to build lives that are rich with purpose and connection. Life may be absurd, but in embracing this absurdity, we discover the freedom to define our own existence and the strength to find beauty amid the chaos. This is the ultimate challenge and triumph of the human condition: to navigate the absurd with hope, resilience, and authenticity. Now that we've delved deep into the philosophies of Dostoevsky and Caraco, one question remains: what will you do with this knowledge? Will you, like Dostoevsky, seek meaning in faith, hope, and love, even in the face of suffering? Or will you embrace Caraco's stark realism, finding liberation in the acceptance of life's futility? The beauty of these contrasting perspectives lies in their ability to challenge us, to make us question, and to inspire us to carve our own paths through the chaos of existence. Remember, life's absurdity is not a dead end, it's an invitation to create, to connect, to rebel against despair, and to find beauty in the fleeting moments that define our humanity. It's a challenge to live authentically, to pursue what matters to you, and to leave your own mark on a world that offers no guarantees. If this journey into the minds of Dostoevsky and Caraco resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button and share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who's ever wondered about the meaning of life. And if you haven't already, click subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next philosophical exploration. Your support fuels this channel and makes these deep dives possible. Lastly, if you'd like to help us continue creating content that challenges and inspires, consider leaving a super thanks donation. Every contribution, big or small, makes a difference and helps us bring you more videos that question, provoke, and engage. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of life's most profound questions. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, life may be absurd, but in embracing that absurdity, we find the courage to live with authenticity and purpose. I'll see you in the next video.